Greetings and welcome. Thank you for coming. Before we begin, let me take a few moments to give the obligatory like this video, comment on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and more importantly, share this video with a friend, a shipmate, your battle buddy, or your bartender. Let's try and get this channel to 1,000 subscribers before Christmas. While you're at it, be sure to check out my Patreon channel. Consider becoming a subscriber and help keep my editor energized with Hawaiian pizza and beer. Seriously, editors are a large part of what makes the world go round in this business. The link is in the video description and at the top of my YouTube page. And lastly, a quick shout out to my Tier 3 and 4 patrons. Russ of the Frozen North, New5AC, Nick, Zachary Langmead, Scared Wolf 1206, and Zachery Raney. Thank you very much. And now, on with the story. The Deathworlders, a story by Philip R. Johnson, a.k.a. Hambone. Hambone HFY, and Hambone 3110. Chapter 24, An Alien World. Part 8. Date point, 10 years, 4 months, 1 day AV. North Clearwater County, Minnesota, USA, Earth. Julian Etsicitty. So, what's the place look like? Alison was on a train in the UK. Julian could see green fields and more black and white cows than a sane nation should allow rushing past the back of her head, interrupted by occasional white cottages, trees, and brick-railed side buildings. Julian shrugged and aimed his own phone around the room. It was essentially unchanged from the last time he'd stood in it, except colder and lifeless. Without the gentle sounds of a house being lived in, rather than being comfortably cluttered, it felt more like a museum locked up at night. It held up okay, considering it's gone without maintenance for a couple of years, he conceded. But it's not the same without Grandpa. He had a lot of stuff, Alison commented, bringing her phone close to her face. This was an understatement for the ages. Grandpa E had been Navajo. Julian's grandma had been equal parts Ojibwe and French. Both of them had identified as American first and foremost, and neither of them had been afraid to collect keepsakes throughout their long and fascinating lives. The result was that the rich green walls were almost totally obscured by photos, artwork, and decorations, no two items of which matched. 3 huge glass-fronted cabinets were stuffed full of whatever ornaments couldn't hang on the walls, and that was without counting for the iron pans hung on the walls by the fridge. The herb drying rack above the kitchen island, the commemorative plates above the door, the cookie jar, 3 recliners, a futon, a coffee table with a humidor full of premium cigars tucked under it, and a TV as big as a ping-pong table. To this last was attached a venerable Sega Genesis, Julian's favorite childhood plaything and already quite obsolete by the time he'd first picked up its controllers. And that was just the big front room. The 2 bedrooms were equally cluttered. Even the bathroom hadn't escaped becoming a repository for decorative knickknacks, and the utility room leading out to the back door was home to a drift of koozies, a stack of tackle boxes, and a gun locker layered in stickers and whatever magnets hadn't been able to find a home either on the fridge in the kitchen or the freezers in the garage. The less said about the unlimited salvage opportunities presented by the recesses of said garage, the better. Yep, Julian agreed. What are you going to do with it? Shit, Al. Don't ask me right now. I still expect the old man to come shuffling out of the garage, you know? She moved the phone away from her face. I'm sorry, baby. He meant a lot to you, huh? He raised me, Julian shrugged. I don't even know. I love this place, but it's kind of the ass end of nowhere. The land's not worth much, and if we do go back out into space again, then I'm not going to be here enough to look after it properly. There's a pickup out there that I can probably resurrect, and 2 more that I probably can't. You gotta start somewhere, though? She asked. I already did. Cleared out all the spoiled food from the freezers, lit some scented candles. This place doesn't stick a 3-year-old dead fish anymore, at least. Jesus. Yeah. So what's next? Got a message this morning that my dead letter's waiting for me, Julian said. Figured I'd go pick that up, grab some utensils from the store, maybe have a campfire and s'mores. Oh, man, s'mores? You're having s'mores without me? Alison pouted, then giggled. She glanced behind her and realized that the pastoral landscape outside was now unambiguously urban. "And I think this is Birmingham. I'd better get ready." "Good luck, Al. I miss you."
"Miss you too, Etsicitty."
She wrinkled her nose at him affectionately.
"You behave yourself till I get back, yeah?"
"Yes, ma'am."
So hot.
She blew a kiss and ended the call. There was nothing quite like having a gorgeous woman describe him as hot to boost Julian's ego. Grinning, he grabbed his jacket and keys and headed out to where his rented truck was parked outside. That was one thing to say for the old place. You could have parked a couple of 18-wheelers outside with room enough left over to land a helicopter. An SUV, 3 pickups, and a by now thoroughly immobile ancient tractor weren't taking up even half the available parking space. He entertained himself for about half the long drive to town by perusing the local radio offerings before deciding that, time zones or not, Vancouver was probably fully awake right now. He called Zhu. There was a smile in her voice when she answered.
"Hey!"
"Hey, you," he smiled too. "Just checking in. You okay?"
My day started off pretty crappy," she conceded. "But, yes, I'm doing okay now. You?"
"Pretty good. Place is in better shape than I thought. I just need to pack it up and sort a few things out then. Well, I'll have plenty of time to decide what I'm going to do with it. What was crappy?"
"Nothing I want to talk about, just," she sighed, "people."
Julian chuckled. "I hear you," he agreed. "When are you going to come down and look at this place?"
"The ARP hasn't come through yet, so I don't exactly have a lot of money," she demurred. "Please tell me you're planning on coming back up here, though."
He couldn't contain an affectionate half-laugh. "Yes, you, we're coming back up there," he reassured, teasing her with a patient tone. He heard a slight laugh from her end of the phone. "Like I said, once I'm done packing the place up, we'll have plenty of time to think."
"Good.
What?
I think I really need you. Both of you, Alison and you."
Julian ran a tongue across his lips, trying to think of what to say. "That bad?" he asked.
Yeah."
"Okay, look, it's going to be a while yet. There's a lot to do. So, I'll tell you what. If you need to, just come down here. You know where I live. I'll pay for it." Zhu paused long enough for Julian to come to a halt at a stop sign, where he exchanged slight nods of mutual recognition with a lurking state trooper before turning right and heading for Clearbrook.
"Julian, are you sure?"
she asked at last. "Hey," he told her, warmly deciding not to mention that his and Alison's hazard pay plus their accumulated salary from serving on Sanctuary meant that Zhu's travel expenses wouldn't even noticeably dent his savings. "Don't worry about it. If you need to come down here, you do it, okay? I'll take care of you. Got it?" There was no reply. "Zhu?"
"Me, Yisharyan Inomo."
Julian frowned. "Was that Galleon?"
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Julian."
"For you, anything," he promised. She made some kind of a noise, one that he couldn't quite discern the meaning of. It might have been a sigh, might have been a laugh, might have been the disintegrating beginning of a weak, It wasn't at all clear.
I'd better help my mom cook," she declared. "It's good to spend time with her."
"Sure. Have fun, you."
"And you."
She was silent for a long few seconds before she finally hung up. Aside from drumming his fingers thoughtfully on the wheel, Julian drove the rest of the way into town, cloaked in contemplative silence and no small amount of guilt. Two things were becoming increasingly apparent. That Zhu was harboring a large and growing crush on him, and that the feeling was mutual. Considering his committed relationship with Alison, that part was hard to feel good about, and he'd have much preferred to raise it with Alison before now, if only there was an opportunity. But in the hospital, hadn't seemed right, and over the phone while she was abroad, even worse. He checked the dashboard clock and performed a few mental calculations. He had about 4 days to go before Alison got back from the UK. He made his plan. After she got back from England, They'd go back to Grandpa E's place. He'd make her s'mores. They'd cuddle by the fire, and he'd confess. See how it went. It sounded so simple put that way, like there was no big deal involved. Sure, Etsicitty, he muttered. No big deal at all. Clearbrook Post Office was pretty much unchanged from the last time he'd seen it. Same red brick construction, same flat roof, same flagpole, and the words United States Post Office in steel letters on the corner of the building. The road had been resurfaced and given a fresh set of bright yellow lines, and the trees were all a bit taller, but otherwise... He parked up, headed indoors, and found it thankfully empty. The postal worker was a rotund, middle-aged woman with candy-red dyed hair in a tight ponytail and enormous spectacles, who gave him a welcoming smile. Her name tag identified her as Caroline. "Hi, what can I do for you?" she asked. "Hi, Julian Etsicitty. I'm here for my dead letter." She froze. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry." "Why? What happened?" "Well, nothing happened. I mean, it's all here, all of it." She recovered herself and produced a form for him to sign. 10 years and change into the extraterrestrial contact age, and the United States Postal Service still hadn't weaned itself off hard copy paperwork. Checked his ID, then vanished to stamp and file the form. "Head on out front and I'll bring it round." "You'll bring it round?" Julian frowned at her as she vanished through the door, then did as she said, heading back out to the parking lot. After a minute of confused waiting, he became aware of a sort of rumbling sound. This turned out to be Caroline dragging behind her a pallet jack, onto which was located a crate full of more USPS totes than Julian would have considered plausible. That's my mail?" he asked flatly. "This is your mail," Caroline agreed. "All of that?" "All of it. Yep." Sarcasm, or some kind of witty remark, was the order of the day. This whole situation was crying out for Julian to keep a cool head and deliver some kind of suave joke. He ran a hand through his hair and tried his best to compose one. Wow. Date point. 10 years, 4 months, 6 days AV. HMS Charmin. HMNB Folktha, Cimbrian. The Far Reaches. Ayma. The human male that Regaari kept calling Warhorse was fretting like a particularly neurotic mother. This was, apparently, his job, and Regaari had assured Ayma that he was extremely good at it. Still, on some level, seeing this much attentive concern from a creature who was strong enough to accidentally dismember her was doing little to fill Ayma with confidence. All devotion to clan aside, now that the moment had come to actually go to Earth, well... It was, after all, now well established that Earth wasn't merely a Class 12, a full 2 points of habitability rating worse than the minimum threshold for Deathworld status, but it was a high-end Class 12, spared only from Class 13 status by a quirk of Cortai bias more than anything else. Earth was, in fact, possibly the most relentlessly and reliably lethal planet in the galaxy. When faced with stepping into a world with that kind of reputation, the fact that she was trusting her life and health to a harness of force fields and localized gravity manipulation fields was, well, it made human paranoia suddenly seem rather less unreasonable. Regaari, as ever, was the picture of composure and calm, but she knew him well enough to detect a slight fidgety edge. Whatever had happened to him on Garden had clearly solidified him an absolute trust in these spaceborne operators, but even that wasn't quite enough to completely quiet pre-Deathworld jitters. Warhorse himself was an incredible specimen. He was actually slightly shorter than Ayma, but there couldn't be a millisecond of doubt as to which of them was stronger, heavier, and more durable. Ayma had seen flimsier walls, and he was casually holding in one hand a bag that she privately doubted that she and Regaari could have lifted between them. Baseball was standing nearby, calmly reading off a checklist. None of the words he was reading translated. Epinephrine? Warhorse tapped some ampules in quick access on his chest. Check. Cetrazine?
Check.
Dipyramide?
Blue and green band, yeah?
That's right.
Check.
Morphine?
ET dosage 3. Check.
Nitroglycerin? Regaari peered at him. Wait, what?
Relax, it's a vasodilator.
Warhorse held up a calming hand.
ET intravenous dosage 3. Check. Intravenous? Nitroglycerin!
Could save your life, man, God forbid. Trust us and let us concentrate, yeah?
Sorry.
Base smiled at him. Last item anyways. Salbutamol? Horse nodded.
Check.
He stood and slung the bag with alarming ease. Protectors ready, he announced.
Good.
Major Powell had taken up the duty of delivering the gowans to Earth himself. The preparations had taken some days and no small amount of politicking, but the plan seemed to be perfectly solid and sound. Ayma and Regaari would constantly wear Akiyama's custom-built excursion rigs, designed to counter the Earth's oppressive gravity and filter out every wriggling bacterium and allergenic granule that poisoned its atmosphere. The SOR's defenders had ingeniously packed on extra protection in the form of biofilter fields that charged from sunlight before sweeping their bodies clean of infection, and stasis field generators that would, in the event of medical emergency, allow the wearer to be delivered safely to a Class 10 medical facility. Finally, each gowan was to be shouted by a medic. Friendly as they were, Warhorse and Baseball had stressed that the moment they jumped to Earth, both of them were going to be focused intently and exclusively on their charge's good health, and were not going to be much fun to hang out with. All things considered, Ayma was almost getting, what was the term? Cold feet. Almost. Powell gestured with 2 pinched fingers to somebody outside that marked the jump area array, an ingenious idea that Ayma was going to be sharing with Yolna when she got back. Why should mothers and cubs be exposed to the dangers of piracy, illegal research facilities, and the hunters when they could just step from one planet straight to another? She felt her fur bristling. There was a whine on the very edge of hearing, and the feeling of building energy that reached a peak, and she was on Earth. She could tell it instantly. Even with her excursion harness protecting her from feeling the extra gravity herself, there was just an extra solidity to everything. Warhorse and Baseball both adjusted their loads slightly. Powell's stance settled and widened. The humans, to a man, immediately seemed just a little more comfortable, a little more relaxed. Those high-gravity Deathworlder muscles had been straining against gravity that wasn't there, and now seemed to be actually grateful for the added burden. Unexpectedly, they also sped up. While Ayma's own movements felt ponderous and slow, and the suit just couldn't disguise the way her foot dropped to the floor faster than was normal, the humans got... She searched for an appropriate adjective and settled on punchier. They walked with a little more precision. Their heads tracked faster as they looked around, and all of their little gestures and mannerisms just seemed to fit that tiny bit better, as if the mere fact that the planet they stood on was both larger and denser than the norm had been written into their body language. Powell took a deep breath and smiled.
Like soup, isn't it, lads?
He asked. Ayma imitated him and nearly reeled. The air was warm, humid, and rich. Rich to the point of intoxication. Higher oxygen content, she recalled, and a memory stirred that in its primordial past, Earth's atmosphere had been richer, warmer, and more oxygenated still, allowing for flying insects and land animals of incomprehensible bulk. The filters must have been working, though. Aside from the tang of humidity, there was no discernible scent on what she was breathing. The protectors seemed satisfied that she and Regaari were well, at least, and indicated that the door could be opened. Admiral Knight had gone on ahead the evening before, and was standing next to a shorter, rather sturdier man that Ayma didn't know, whose hair put her in mind of brushed steel, but who was smiling warmly. Powell raised his voice enough to be firm.
Detail, 10 shot.
Warhorse and Baseball all snapped fully upright, bringing their heels together and straightening their spines. It was an impressive gesture given that both protectors were solidly layered in armor and equipment. Powell offered a salute.
Sir, the special representatives from Gao, as ordered.
The man he was addressing returned the salute. Thank you, Major. Your men may carry on. Pal nodded to the protectors, and both of them promptly returned their full attention to Regaari and Ayma.
Mother Ayma, Officer Regaari, he announced. This is Lieutenant General Martin Tremblay, Supreme Allied Commander for Extrasolar Defense.
Tremblay offered a hand and shook their paws, rather more delicately than he needed to. This day has been a long time in coming, he smiled. I've spent so long reading about the Gowan people and what you personally did for one of ours that it's a genuine pleasure and a privilege to finally meet you in person. Ayma felt her ears twist, feeling genuinely and awkwardly complimented.
Shu always insisted there was nothing special about her, she replied diplomatically. If that is true, then I must consider the pleasure and the privilege to be greater on my part.
She caught the amused and impressed set of Regaari's ears out of the corner of her eye, but Tremblay's reaction was even more interested.
Please, don't waste a soundbite like that on me, he laughed. Save it for the cameras. Sorry we couldn't spare you those entirely, but the first official visit to the surface of Earth by non-humans, that was never not going to be a media party. Had he been Gowan, Ayma decided that she would already be contemplating a mating contract. Instead, she made a reassuring purr. Admiral Knight nodded solemnly. The sooner we get that particular ordeal out of the way, the better, I say, he suggested. Agreed, Tremblay nodded. Let's get this over with.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am the Casual Deathworlder, your host, and this has been The Deathworlders, Chapter 24, Part 8. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. If you did, please go ahead and smash those like and subscribe buttons and consider dropping us a comment down below. Even better would be donating to my Editor's Pizza and Beer Fund over on Patreon. Speaking of which, a huge shout out to my editor Graygor. Thank you very much, buddy. I could never do this without you. Okay. Question, who's got the question? Well, this one's probably going to be a loaded one. Three-Eye Atlas. What are your opinions? What are your guesses? Interstellar comet or alien tech? Leave your guesses in the comments down below. This is going to be interesting. Until next time, be safe, be well. I love you all. Bye-bye.